Hey guys, and welcome to Faithwerks Designs. I'm Faith, and today I'm bringing you a brand new pattern. Just got finished testing. The pattern will be out February 1st, and it is called the Flipside Carrying Case. So my husband needed a carrying case for his MacBook something, and so I made this small carrying case, and there was a couple of things in it that I put in just because that was something that kind of he needed. But when my testers started testing it, they noticed, they were like, well, this is too small for my laptop. My laptop is bigger. So I came out with the large size and just kind of enlarged everything. So future Faith is going to put the measurements of the regular versus the large here. And then a lot of you guys are obsessed with printing things out at 120%. So one of my testers took the regular size and printed it out at 120%. So this size was born. I'm going to insert a picture here of all three sizes right next to each other, but you have three size options. So in the pattern, you're going to receive the pieces for the regular size and the large size. If you want the medium size, all of those measurements will be here, or they will be in the description. They'll be somewhere. You can do the 120% for the regular size. I have not done 120% for the large, so if you do, let me know in the comment section down below. Alright, now that that's all the way, let's take a look at the bag. Alright, so in the very front, if you have a statement panel, this is where you're going to want to put it, right here on this nice little flap. In the very front, I don't know if you can see from right there, there's a D-ring on the front underneath this facing piece. My husband wanted somewhere to put his keys without having to carry one more thing or put it on the inside of his bag. He just wanted to be able to attach it, and so this is where that D-ring comes in, so you can just kind of put your keys there. When you lift up the flap, you're going to have a little zipper pocket, and then you're going to have a slip pocket. Now on both of those, I went ahead and made it so that the zipper pocket and the slip pocket had the little rounded bits in the front. So I don't know if you can see it, but it does round out a little bit right here. That is because he wanted to carry his mouse, his power cord, and stuff like that. Again, he didn't want it on the inside of the bag. So this is perfect. It poofs out at just the right spot so that you can carry all of that with you. On the front, I use double zips. You can use one zipper if you prefer. So on one side of the inside, you have this elastic piece, and that is going to be what holds your computer in. Now the 120 size is too large for my Surface Pro. It fits really nice in the regular, but I wanted to show you this on the 120 size. So your computer will go on one side and it'll be held in by that elastic there, and then my husband likes to go study, and so I was thinking college kids going off, high school kids, stuff like that, need somewhere to put their pens, styluses, just the stuff that they have to carry with them all the time. And my husband also has man hands, and when he tries to put pens away inside of a deep bag, it's just kind of harder for him to do it. So unsnapping a few snaps, your pen pouch comes out. Now it has a lot of variations for this. If you want to make this elastic be further apart so that you can put something else here, if you want to make it nice and wide and put your power cord here, go for it. Whatever you want to do. My initial thought was just having it so that he could have his pens kind of stuck in here, and then put his pens in, slip it back into his bag, and then snap it back together, and that way he didn't have to be trying to reach in there and finding stuff, and it was frustrating. So, and the bag is turned around, so let's go ahead and talk about it. On the back, so for the pattern, you're going to have, I'm going to show you how to do the crossbody straps. If you wanted to, you could make this a backpack. A lot of my customers were saying that the large size was too large for a crossbody, but what about a book bag? So I did add just an O-ring at the top and then 2 D-rings on each side, and then you can add straps that connect either way. It's very simple to make something into a book bag. I've made a million of them on the K&A sew along, so if you're confused and you want it into a book bag but you're not sure how to do it, check out those videos. I do them all the time. But in the pattern, it's only going to come with the crossbody straps situation. Let's get started. Alright, so let's talk about everything that we're going to need. First, let's start with hardware. So you are going to need 2 swivel clasps and a strap adjuster for your strap. I've got 60 inches of 1.5 inch webbing, so I've got 1.5 inch swivel clasps and 1.5 inch strap adjuster. Then you're going to need 3 D-rings. I've got 3 1-inch D-rings. I've got 3 number 5 zipper pulls, and then I've also got some zipper tape, so number 5 zipper tape. All of your measurements for your zipper tape will be in the written instructions. And then you're also going to need 2 sets of your magnetic snaps. You have 2 males, 2 females. You're also going to need some 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, whatever measurement you want to use, elastic to hold our pencils in place. You're also going to need some 1.5 inch elastic. This is what I use to put the computer in and kind of hold it in place. For the snaps, that's going to hold our pencil pouch kind of towards the back of our bag, you're going to need some snaps. You could do fashion snaps if you wanted to, it's up to you. I've got cam snaps size 20. I just like cam snaps. I have them and I use them for everything. If you're using the cam snaps, you are going to need the tool to put it in and then a little awl to make your hole to put your cam snaps into your fabric. You're also going to need some kind of binding for your pencil pouch. I find that the fold over elastic is really nice for the pencil pouch. You're also going to need some sort of binding for the inside of your bag. Around the front and the back of the bag, you could use waterproof canvas, you could use a material, you could use some fold over elastic, it's up to you, but you're going to need extra binding for that as well. Last thing, and this is kind of optional, you're going to need a piece of Peltex. This is going to go behind your pencil case, like in the center of your pencil case, so that your center pencil board will be nice and stiff so that when you take it out and put it in, it won't be kind of like wibbly wobbly all over the place. I use Peltex, but you could use anything that you would like. Alright, let's talk interfacing for our pieces. I am using canvas today, so I went ahead and interfaced it with Pellon 950F. I like 950F because it's a little sturdier. You could use SF101 and you'd be just fine. I'm using vinyl for the outside, and so I went ahead and made my Decovil light a little bit shorter all the way around, and then just adhered some Decovil light. It just depends on what materials you decide to use is what interfacing you need to use. Alright, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do our zipper gusset because that's going to be the easiest thing to just go ahead and do. I cut my zipper tape to the length of my zipper gusset, and I'm going to take the right side of my outer gusset, zipper gusset, to the right side of my zipper, and then I'm going to clip those together all the way down. After that's in place, I'm going to take one of my linings and place it right side to the wrong side of my zipper, and I'm going to add that to my clipped pieces. Then we're going to go to the sewing machine, and at 1/4 inch we're going to sew these all together. Alright, so I have got a 3 stitch length, and I'll be using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I'm going to take my outer and my lining and pull it away from my zipper, and then I'm going to base stitch down the side so that the lining and the outer are base stitched down this side, and then come back around and top stitch. Alright, now that that's done, let's grab our other outer and our other lining, and we're going to put the other outer right side to the right side of our zipper, and then clip those together all the way down. Now we're going to put right side of our lining to the wrong side of our zipper and add it to our little zipper sandwich, and clip them together all the way down. Alright, again we're going to go down with a 1/4 inch seam allowance and a 3 stitch length. I'm going to pull my lining and my outer fabric away from my zipper, and it should look like that. And then I'm going to change my stitch to a 4 length. And then just baste down the side and top stitch just like we did on the other side. Alright, so we've got both sides all done. Lining looks great. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab our zippers and go ahead and put those on before we forget. Because nothing would be worse than sewing the rest of the gusset together and be like, oh, poop. And you forgot your zippers. So put your zippers on. I'm going to put one on one end and then zip it all the way down the other end. So left side first, then right side. There we go. Pull it down to the other end. Open this side up. Left side in. Then right side in. Making sure the ends of your zippers are matching up. So if your zippers are going straight across, you did it right. Alright, we've got our two zippers on there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our D-ring connectors. D-ring connectors, I put a piece of 3/4 of an inch Decoville light, and then what you need to do is you need to find the center. We're going to take these to the sewing machine and get these all prepped for the rest of the bag, but if we don't do them now, I will forget. Ask me how I know. So I'm just finding the center and making a line. I'm going to grab some 1/2 inch double-sided tape. I just placed it right down the center, and then I'm going to remove the paper, and I'm going to take this side and fold it into that center line, and then I'm going to take this side and fold it into that center line. Now we're going to take this to the sewing machine, sew down, over, and then back down. We're going to do that for all three. Alright, so I've got all of my pieces ready to go. I have got my stitch length at a 4 and then a little over 1/4 of an inch. I'm sewing down, making sure your needle is down, and then pivot. And I'm back stitching where I start and stop. And it should, I know it's black, sorry guys, it's right there by my black machine. So it should look like that. And let's do the next ones. Alright, so I've got my zipper gusset, my bottom gusset, my 2 D-ring connectors, and my 2 D-rings. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab one of our D-ring connectors and one of our D-rings, and with the flat part going across our open seam right here, we're going to fold that in half. And then I am going to find the center of the side of my bottom panel, and I'm going to clip that in place. I am overlapping my D-ring connector and the end of the bottom of my gusset. I'm overlapping it about 1/4 of an inch on the edge, so hopefully you can see it. So just a little bit of that tail of the D-ring connector is hanging over. So again, put your D-ring on your connector. Alright, find the center, have about 1/4 of an inch hanging over the edge. I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I am going to base stitch those in place. Alright, so we've got our zipper gusset, our bottom gusset, and our bottom gusset lining. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put right side of our bottom gusset to the right side of our zipper gusset. And I'm going to clip those together just so that they stay in place for a minute. Like that. Then I'm going to grab my lining. I'm going to place it right side to the wrong side of the zipper, but the right side of the lining to the right side of the lining. So it should look like that. Then I'm going to go down the other end and do the same thing. So the right side of my bottom gusset to the right side of my zipper gusset. And I'm going to clip them on the side. Then I'm going to take my bottom gusset lining and put it right side to the right side of my lining and the wrong side of my zipper. So they should both look like that. Let's take them to the sewing machine and we're going to sew it 1/4 of an inch all the way across. Alright, so I have got a 3-stitch length, and I will warn you, right where that D-ring connector is, it's going to get a little thick. So take your time sewing over it. Make sure to back stitch where you start. And then I'm just going to take this end, and I'm going to do the same exact thing so I don't have to waste thread. I'll just bring it right behind the other one. Take your time going over that D-ring. Alright, now let's go back to the sewing table and we will put the gusset lining and the outer panel together to make it a little bit easier to work with. We're going to take our outer and turn it right side out. And then what I like to do to just make this easier to work with later on is I'm going to match up my outer and my lining, and I'm going to clip them together. And then I like to take it to the sewing machine and base stitch down the sides so that my bottom gusset and my bottom gusset lining are all one piece, just like my zipper gusset is, how it got base stitched on the sides. And then if you sew it together, it makes it one piece and so much easier to work with later on. So I'm going to clip this together and then we'll go back to the sewing machine. So I turned it so that the right side is inside and the lining is out. My stitch length is at a 4, and I'm just going to, at 1/8 of an inch, base stitch that in place. Alright, now that our gusset is all one piece, both the lining and the outer, it makes it so much easier to work with. Alright, next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your sides and put those together, and then come down here and find the center of your zipper gusset. You're going to want to do that on both sides. And then again, put your side seams together and find the bottom center. And do that on both sides. Make a little notch, a little clip, or you could do a mark, whatever you're more comfortable with. But we need to have the bottom and top notches. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is the elastic panel. I'm going to grab one of my lining pieces for our pencil pouch, and then my Peltex and my 1/2 inch elastic. First thing that I'm going to do is put the right side out, and I went ahead and interfaced this piece as well to just make it feel a lot nicer. I'm going to put the Peltex and this piece of fabric together. I'm going to base stitch really quickly around the edges so that the Peltex and the fabric stay together. If you get the Peltex that has like the glue that you can just iron on, you could do that as well. I got the one that doesn't have the glue because I use this Peltex for something else. So what I'm going to do is 1/8 of an inch, I'm just going to sew all the way around and base stitch those together. Alright, now that these two are base stitched together to make it a whole lot easier to work with, you're going to want to line up your panel on your desk and grab your 1/2 inch elastic. I don't like to pre-cut mine, I just kind of like lay it on here and then cut it. You're going to need a couple of clips. And what I'm going to do is measuring down 3 inches. So measuring 1, 2, 3. Put your elastic down right there. And clip it. And then measuring down another 2 inches. Let's see. So that's 3, 4, 5. So 5 inches down, we're going to put another one. And you can change these if there's another type of pen or something that you use that you want to adjust this. You totally could. If there's something else that you're using this for, you know, an art kind of thing, and you need the measurements to be different, you can always do that. Feel free to change the pattern any way that you need to make it work for you. Alright, now that we've got our elastic in place, I got to grab my ruler, and I am going to make sure that this is nice and square on my desk. And then I'm going to measure over 1¼ inch. So from this edge, we're going to measure over 1¼ inch, and I'm just marking it. And then I'm going to take my ruler and move it over 1 inch. And again, you can change these if you want to. I'm going to move it over another inch. Essentially, it's going to be 1¼ 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch till we get to the end. So 1 more inch. I found that the 1 inch is pretty good for pins. So if you wanted to use the 1 inch, you could. If you want to make it a little bit bigger, you can. And then at the end, you should have another one that's 1¼ So it'll be 1¼ 1 1 1 1 1 1 1¼ Alright, now we're going to go to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew, backstitch, sew, lift up my presser foot, pull this through, sew, backstitch, sew. I'll show you when we get there, but that's basically what I'm going to do all the way across. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is grab this edge, and 1/8 inch, I'm just going to sew forward, back, forward. And if you wanted to, you could just sew all the way down. I'm just getting those clips out of the way. I am going to leave all of my threads pretty much until the very end, and then I'll show you guys how to kind of clean everything up. So now I'm going to go to my first mark. Sew, backstitch, sew. You're just sewing over that elastic. Put your presser foot up, pull it back, sew, backstitch, sew. You're going to do the same exact thing all the way down until you get to the other side. Alright, ignore all of the junk behind me. Alright, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to deal with all of these threads. And so what I like to do is start on the outside. I'm going to do the centers later, but just clean up the outsides first. So you're going to pull the thread through so that you have the top thread and the bottom thread. And you're going to do that on the top and the bottom of your very first one. And then cut them down and burn your threads. So you're going to do that all the way across. Alright, now we're going to need to take care of those threads that are going down the center. If you had any of your threads that would not pull through, you can just simply cut them off on the front and then burn them down. You're good to go. Alright, centers. I'm just going to take my scissors and very carefully not cut my fabric, but just my scissors. I'm going to cut all of those threads, and then I'm going to go on the back and I'm going to do the same exact thing. And then I'm going to pull all the threads to the back and burn them just like I did the outside threads. And you're going to do that all the way down. Alright, now that we have our elastic on, we're going to set this aside. we're going to work on our snaps. So you're going to have your pencil case pattern. Yours will have all the information on it. This is my tester. So you're going to need that pattern, and you're going to need to cut those holes out. I have a hole punch that I use, and I just take this and punch those holes out so that I know where to put my caps and my snaps. You're also going to need your front and back panel lining. Same thing, poking out those holes. You're also going to need your press and your awl. You are going to need 4 caps, 2 studs, and 2 sockets. Alright, so we're going to get our pencil pouch lining, and I'm going to turn it wrong sides to me. I'm also going to make sure that the top of my fabric is to the top of my pattern. So I don't want to make any marks and accidentally put the snaps at the bottom of my fabric. So if you're using like a directional print, this is when you kind of need to pay attention. So I'm going to put my holes here. I'm going to get my hole punch and punch those out. Or you could have used your awl, which that's what I was going to do and forgot all about it. Okay, we're going to take 1 cap, putting it through the lining. Then you can take 1 of our sockets, and then we're going to press those together. Oh. So just like that. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Put a cap on that side and another socket on that side. So just like that. And again, making sure that if you're using a directional print that those snaps are at the top. Alright, so I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to grab my pattern piece for my lining. I'm going to flip this over just like that. I'm going to place it on top of it just like that. My cat got a hold of this one, I can tell, on the corner. Oh my gonagle. Alright, now I'll show you taking the awl. So you're just going to take the awl through the hole like that. And again, we're going to take the cap and put it through the back, and then on the front you're going to put the stud and then squish them. Okay, so it should look like that. Do my second one. Okay, so your snaps should be at both the top of your pencil pouch and the top of your back lining piece. Next thing that we're going to do, we're going to grab our 2 pieces. Now we're going to put wrong side to wrong side, just like so, making sure that the snaps are at the top of your pencil pouch, and we are going to clip them together. Okay, so you should have your pencil pouch on one side and your snaps on the other side, making sure the snaps are at the top and that your elastic is towards the top. We're going to, at 1/8 of an inch, base stitch these together. Then we're going to grab our lining with our snaps and one of our back panels, our main panel pieces, and we're going to put wrong side to wrong side, just like that. We're going to clip those together, and we're also going to base stitch at 1/8 of an inch all the way around so that they become one piece to have to work with. So let's take both of these to the sewing table and stitch them together. Alright, I have got my stitch length at a 4, and then I'm going to go ahead and just base stitch around both my pencil case and my back panel. Alright, so we have got our lining and our back panel together. We're going to set that aside. We've got our pencil pouch together. The next thing that you're going to need to do is grab some fold over elastic or some way to be able to bind this so that the outside looks really nice. I've got this 3/4 of an inch fold over elastic, and I've been using it the last couple of days and I really like it. It's just the right size for this project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the sewing machine. I found that this works best for me, and it may not for you, but as I'm sewing, I'm going to put it and just stretch it just a little bit and then sew this down. So I'm going to do that at my sewing machine. It just works out better. I find that if I clip it first, my foot kind of pushes that elastic along and then it gets wonky and doesn't look good. So I like doing it at the sewing machine and just kind of taking my time doing it. So let's go do that. Alright, so I went ahead and clipped my beginning in place. I'm going to be using a 4-stitch length, and then I'm just going to kind of take my time and sew this on. Alright, now that we have got your binding on this piece, you can see how it kind of snaps itself to your back panel on the inside of your bag. Anyway, that's what it looks like. Now we're going to move on to the front of the bag and that construction. Alright, now we have got the front panel lining, and I've got my 1.5 inch elastic. This is what's going to kind of hold your computer in place. And it's up to you if you want to use this or not. I just thought it would be a little convenient to be able to have something that kind of stretches so that you can take it in and out. Instead of adding more snaps or more hardware to this, I wanted to kind of keep it simple. What you're going to do is you're going to measure 3.5 down and then place your elastic on each corner. I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm going to base stitch down each side to keep that elastic in place. Alright, so with a 4-stitch length, I just base stitched 1/8 of an inch on each side just to kind of hold that elastic in place. Now I'm going to grab my front main panel, my outer main panel, and we're going to put these wrong side to wrong side, just like that. I'm going to clip it all the way around, and then we're going to take it to the sewing machine and base stitch these two pieces together. Alright, with a 4-stitch length, we're just going to go 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Now that we've got this done, we're going to start on our outer main panel. We're going to grab our front zipper pocket, our D-ring connector, and one D-ring. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put our D-ring on our connector just like we did before and fold it in half. Then what you're going to do is you're going to measure down 3/4 and over 2 inches. So 1, 2, and then 3/4. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to put your finger there and you're going to go to the sewing machine and base stitch this down. Now you can see what I did without my big hands in the way. So I measured 3/4 of an inch down and 2 inches over and then put my D-ring like that. You're going to want to base stitch that in place because it's going to go underneath of our facing for the front. We just need it to kind of stay in place. Next thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need your front facing piece. Now if you wanted to, I would not interface this, by the way, because that's just going to be one more layer and make this super duper thick. What you could do is you could edge coat this if you wanted to. I am just going to burn the ends, and that kind of keeps that underneath the vinyl from kind of fraying off. It keeps it from looking funky later on. And so I'm just going to do those edges, and that kind of melts it so that you don't have to worry about that fraying. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our 1/2 inch double-sided tape again. I'm going to put a piece across the top, and then I'm going to put a piece like that along the bottom. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the paper, and then I'm going to line up my top. Okay, so it should look like that. If you wanted to, you could use some contrasting thread color while we sew this on, just so that it kind of, that facing kind of like pops. It's up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and take this to the sewing machine. What we're going to do is we're going to sew down, around, and back up. Alright, so I'm just going to start right here. I'm going to go all the way across just to kind of base stitch this in place so I don't have to worry about it later on when I put my zipper on. And I'm just kind of sewing at 1/8 of an inch, a little bit closer than 1/8 of an inch. And you're going to want to take your time because this is going to stand out if your stitching is messed up. And it's curved, so you know how much we love curves. Alright, while we're at the sewing machine, let's go ahead and do this. So our very bottom here, you see how we have this little cutout. We need to bring those together, right sides together, and then at 1/4 of an inch, you're just going to sew, back stitch, and sew them together. You're going to do that on both sides. That's what's going to give the front of our bag the poofy shape so that we can have a little bit of space to put stuff in the front of the bag. So it should look like that. Alright, let's go work on our zipper. Alright, so we're going to set that aside. The next thing we're going to do is you're going to need your 7 3/4 zipper tape, your zipper, your 2 outer zipper tabs, and your 2 lining zipper tabs. I'm going to go ahead and put your zipper on. Left side first, then the right side. And if it's not even, you see how that one side is sticking up higher than the other side? Hopefully you can see that. You didn't do it right, so you got to take this off and try again. Alright, there we go. Put your zipper in the center. You're going to take your outer. I didn't interface these pieces either. It's just a thickness we don't need. So right side to right side. And then take your lining right side to the wrong side. So it should look like that. You're going to do that on both ends and then take it to the sewing machine and at 1/4 of an inch sew your zipper tabs onto your zippers. Just like that. Alright, so I have got a 3 stitch length and I'm just going to sew at 1/4 of an inch. Alright, now I have changed my stitch length to a 4. We're going to take the outer and the lining and pull them away from our zipper. And then at 1/8 of an inch, we're just going to stitch down so that those zipper tabs will stay where they're supposed to be. Alright, now that our zipper tabs are on and ready to go. We're going to grab our front with our front facing, and we're going to grab our pattern. If you haven't already, go ahead and poke holes in your pattern so that you know exactly where to put your magnetic snaps. We're going to prep this piece. We're not going to be putting our magnets in just yet. You'll see why in a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and make my marks so that I know where they're supposed to go. And then I'm going to take my washer and I'm going to place it on that spot and do the sides. And I'm going to do that to both. Then I'm going to take my seam ripper and I'm going to open those up. Alright, we are not adding our magnets just yet. You'll understand in a little bit when we go to top stitch. It's really close, but it kind of had to be there. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our zipper and place it right side of our facing, the right side of our zipper to the right side of our facing, and clip those together. I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I am going to base stitch this in place just so that it doesn't move around when I'm trying to add my lining. So let me go do that. Alright, so what I did was, with a 4-stitch length, I went down 1/8 of an inch all the way down just so that my zipper is on there and I don't have to worry about messing with it when I've got my lining as well. So make sure that your zipper is going closing to the left, opening to the right. Next thing we're going to do, if you wanted to, you could make center notches and match those up. But you know, we live dangerously around here. So I'm going to put right side of my front zipper pocket piece. So you're going to need your front zipper pocket piece, your lining. So you're going to put the right side of your lining piece to the wrong side of your zipper. And I'm going to clip that all the way down. Then we're going to go to the sewing machine and sew it with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I also forgot to mention, on your lining, I went ahead and did like I did on the front panel here. I went ahead and put your edges together like that, and then sewed it 1/4 of an inch. You're going to do that on all of these lining pieces where you have those cutouts. You're going to want to go ahead and just sew those, close them up, sew them down, and do it on both sides for all of your pieces that have the cutouts like that. Alright, now let's go to the sewing machine. Alright, I've got my stitch length at a 3 and we're going to sew at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Bobbin roulette. Alright, I have a nice fresh bobbin now. So I'm going to take this lining and I'm going to press it away and then fold it under. And this is why we went ahead and didn't add our magnets, because it is going to be close to our top stitching. We'll add the magnets in just a minute, but we got to do our top stitching first. So I have got my stitch length to a 4, and you want to make sure that that lining is getting pulled. If you need to, you could go ahead and clip your lining and your outer panel together so that they don't kind of slip around. I've done this a couple times. I want to make sure that my lining and my outer are meeting up, and if I don't have that lining pulled far enough to the end, they're not going to meet up later on. So I want to make sure that when I'm top stitching that that lining is pulled all the way back so that it meets up later. Alright, I think I'm straight now. We're just going to top stitch with a 4-stitch length, 1/8 of an inch. And then just kind of push that lining that way. See how close that would have been to our magnet. And I didn't want you breaking any needles and getting mad, so. Alright, now we're going to go back to the sewing table and I'm going to show you guys how to put your magnets in, and then we can keep rolling. Alright, so the top stitching is all done. Looks really nice. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our male end of our magnets. I don't know why, but I feel like the female part being on the flat just helps it close a little bit better. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. Just make sure that you've got either 2 males or 2 females on the same panel. Alright, so we're going to lift the lining out of the way, and we're going to push our magnets in through the right side, so like that. And then I am going to add my washer And if you wanted to, you could add a thing of Peltex. It's up to you. I use my pliers to push those little legs down. Alright, so there's one. Let's do the other one. Okay, so you've got both of your magnets on there, and when it folds over, your magnets and everything are in there nice and snug. Alright, can you see why we waited? You might have accidentally got that with your sewing machine. That's why we waited. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the back zipper pocket piece. So grab your back zipper pocket piece. We're going to go to the sewing machine real quick, and I'm going to sew these corners just like that. I'm going to do it on both sides, and then we'll go to the next step. Alright, so I went really quick to the sewing machine and sewed those corners. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab this panel and put it the wrong side of your zipper to the right side of your lining fabric, and we're going to clip all the way across the top. We're going to take this to the sewing machine and just kind of base stitch these two together, and then we'll go to the next step. Alright, with a 4 stitch length, we're just going to sew 1/8 of an inch, just kind of base stitching the zipper onto that lining piece. Now that our lining is together with our front piece, we're not going to worry about the bottoms or base stitching or any of that just yet. We're going to grab our slip pocket piece, and the slip pocket piece is going to go right side to the right side of our zipper. So we're just going to put it right sides to right sides, clip them together, take them to the sewing machine at 1/4 of an inch. We're going to sew these together. Alright, I have got a 3 stitch length, and we're going to sew at 1/4 of an inch to sew these together. Alright, now we're going to switch our stitch length to a 4, and I'm going to fold this back. You want to make sure that your seam right here is facing that way, so that it's out of your way, and it's not going to, the seam for the zipper is not going to be going down towards our zipper. It'll just make a bunch of bulk there that we don't want. Alright, now we've got our slip pocket piece on. We're going to grab our slip pocket lining. I went ahead again and sewed the edges together so that I have that shape that I want for the very bottom. Next thing we're going to do is put right sides together, and then we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and at 1/4 of an inch you're going to sew this together. Alright, so we have got a 3 stitch length, and then we're just going to sew 1/4 of an inch all the way across. Now we're going to take that lining, and it's kind of the same situation. We're going to fold this back, push it with your fingers, fold it back, and then we need to make sure that this slip pocket lining is meeting down to the bottom. And I know we don't have any of that clipped up or base stitched or anything like that, but again, if you wanted to, you could just kind of clip it so that it will stay together. Nothing needs to be perfect down at the bottom just yet. I just want to make sure that that lining reaches the bottom. So when I go to top stitch it, I'm just going to kind of push that lining down so I make sure that it meets up at the bottom, because we want to make sure that all of that gets closed. Alright, I'm going to grab a 4 stitch length, and then I'm just going to top stitch right across there. Alright, so our zipper pocket, our slip pocket, all of that is ready to go. The next thing we're going to have to do, and you really want to pay attention to this, is you're going to have your vinyl layer, your first lining, your second lining, and then your slip pocket lining. Like, that's a lot. So what you're going to have to do down here at the bottom, we're going to take our vinyl and push that seam to the right. Our first lining, we're going to push that seam to the left. Our next lining, we're going to push that seam to the right. And then the last lining, we're going to push it to the left. And you're going to want to clip it right there so that your seams stay in the direction that you just put them in. You're going to want to do that on both sides. So vinyl goes to the right, first layer goes to the left, so that they butterfly seam just like that. The next lining goes to the right, and the next lining goes to the left. I know. But that's going to help that seam not be so bulky if they're just all facing to the right or all facing to the left or kind of willy-nilly. You want them to be in opposite directions so that it won't be as thick to sew. So now you're going to need to grab all these layers and line them up to the edge of your vinyl. And we're going to take this to the sewing machine and now base stitch everything together. If you need to, you can go ahead and clip down the side. We're going to base stitch around our 3 sides here just so that everything just kind of lays nice and flat. Okay, so you'll have these sides. We're going to go all the way around from here all the way back up again so that we can base stitch this in place. So I've got a 4 stitch length, and at 1/8 of an inch I am just going to base stitch all of these layers together and just kind of follow the natural curve and try and keep these layers together as you're going around. Alright, now if you need to, go ahead and just kind of trim any excess fabric that maybe just was kind of willy-nilly. And then on the bottom where you've got your seams that are kind of going every which way, go ahead and cut that excess off so that it's not in our way for later on. Alright, now one thing you're going to have to do, we're going to take this and fold it in half, matching up our seams right here. We're going to find the center of our front panel. So, just like that. Now we're going to grab our front panel. This is the part for our laptop. I put this in the front so that your laptop would be in the front of your bag because there's so much going on here. I was kind of hoping that that would be kind of like a protectorant for your bag. If you wanted to, you could put foam in between these layers just to kind of give it a little bit of extra protection. It's up to you. I just didn't want the laptop on the very back of the bag so that it didn't get like hit or anything, because all of this will stop it from getting hit. Alright, on the very bottom, the side that does not have the elastic, we're going to find the center, make a little clip. So we've got the center of both of our front piece and then the center of our front panel. We're going to put these on top of each other, and you're going to kind of have to mold this to this rounded corner. So I'll start with my centers. Okay, so here on the corner, you're going to have to take this and kind of push it down so that it molds to the side of that bag. And your little poofy part poofs out. You guys like my technology and my techno terms for everything? Put your poofy side of your bag on your poofy side. Alright, so it should fit like that together. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Alright, now we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to base stitch these two pieces together. Alright, so I have got a 4 stitch length, and if you need to, if you're working on an industrial, you might need to put a thicker needle in when we go to add the gusset and the binding and all of that. It is entirely up to you, but she's going to get a little bit thick down here at the bottom. Make sure that when you take your clips off that your front panel and everything is still staying where it's supposed to. It's going to want to kind of like go that way. So you're just going to have to keep it straight. Alright, so we've got all of this ready to go. Your elastic should be up at the top, not at the bottom, so make sure that's right. Alright, now we're going to work on our flap. So we've got our front outer piece, and then we've got our lining, and I know it's confusing that I use the same fabric, and I'm sorry. But if you want to double check, and you do the same thing like I do, and you just, yeah. You put this on there like that, and you know that this is the outside. This is going to be your lining. Alright, so we're going to grab our lining, and I'm going to put it wrong side down. I'm going to grab my front flap piece, And ignore all of my little notes on here because this is my tester. I know, I'm silly. I can't help it. Alright, you're going to have 2 little dots that, again, you're going to have to cut out with a hole cutter. And then you're going to make your marks on your front flap lining, not your front flap. I'm going to grab my washers and put the circle on my dot that I just drew. And then grab both sides. Do the same on both sides, and then I'm going to grab my seam ripper and open those up. If you wanted to, you could get a piece of Peltex to put on the back of this and put it in between your washer and your magnet. It's up to you. I don't think I'm going to do that today. I think it'll be alright. So I have got, oh my gosh, these magnets, they're so strong. Alright, I'm going to get one of my female magnets, and I'm going to put it through the right side of my lining and put my washer on like that. Get my other magnet. I'm going to have to remember where I got these magnets from because they are really strong. Alright, so my other magnet through the right side of the fabric. Alright, our lining is prepped and we have our magnets ready to go. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our front piece and we're going to put right side to right side. Clip these together, and then we're going to go to the sewing machine, and at 1/4 inch we're going to sew all the way around. Normally I've been making like a really cute vinyl flap for the outside just because it looks really nice, but I really want to use this print and I didn't get any vinyl in it. So I've been using like a cute vinyl on the outside and then like a cotton for the lining. It's just up to you guys, whatever you want to use. Alright, now what we're going to do, we're going to start right here. We're going to go around 1/4 inch. So we're going to start here, making sure to back stitch right there. Go down, around, over, up, and back up here. And then back stitch right there. This is going to stay open so that we can turn it inside out. So let's go sew that. Alright, I have got a 3 stitch length, and I'm just going to go forward, back stitch, and then forward, and then 1/4 inch. Try and follow that curve as best you can because it is on the flap, and it does kind of show up like a sore thumb if you veer, if you stray, which I do it too, guys, so don't feel bad. The roundy bits are not our favorites. Alright, so we've got it all sewn together. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab some pinking shears and a really sharp pair of scissors. I am going to take these scissors and I'm going to cut from this corner edge into my stitch right there. I'm not going to cut my stitches. If you cut your stitches, you need to go back over it and sew it again. But just these corners right here need to be cut so that when they turn inside out, they'll sit right. Next thing you've got is this little curve right here. You want that to lay flat, so I've been taking pinking shears and just kind of going around that one spot. Not too close to my threads, but close enough. So it should look like that. Just cut that corner so that it'll lay flat when we turn it inside out. Now we're going to turn it inside out, and I'm going to grab all of my little corners first. You do need something to kind of help you get all your corners out. I have a pair of scissors that I normally use that kind of have like a rounded tip. Or if you have, you know, some kind of tool. I need to get like a real tool. But just get all of those corners out so that they'll lay nice and flat before we top stitch. See, my scissors are kind of rounded. So I am just going to push those corners out. Be careful if you're using vinyl, pushing these corners out. You don't want to push too much. You know what I'm talking about. There's a couple of vinyls that I have that I have to be really careful with the seams. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we are going to top stitch all the way around, even at the top. At the top, you will have to push, these corners are going to want to go in like this. You're going to have to push them out. And if you wanted to, you could go to your ironing table and iron this out. It's up to you. especially if you're using cotton for both sides. But I'm going to go ahead and take this to the sewing machine and just go for it. Alright, let's go do that. Okay, so one tip real quick. The side that has the magnets, I am going to be sewing with the lining facing up because they are kind of close to the edge, and if you've got it down here, you're going to be kind of frustrated. So I sew it with the lining up. If you want to try it with the lining down, go for it. But I don't feel like fighting with it today. So I am just going to, in 1/8 of an inch, I'm just going to go all the way around. And then again, if you're not super good at top stitching, just take your time and use your foot as a guide. Alright, now that you got your flap all done, the next thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to fold it in half, make a center notch, get your front piece, fold it in half, make a center notch. Then we're going to line up our center notches so that we make sure that our flap is nice and straight. Your snaps are probably going to want to snap to each other like mine just did. And then we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we're going to base stitch along the top. Alright, so we have got our front panel, our back panel all done, and our gusset. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the front gusset first. You can go ahead and remove your pencil pouch. You don't want to have that on when you're trying to put the gusset onto this. So go ahead and remove that. Now, we're going to match up our center notch and our zipper gusset to the center notch of the outside of our bag. And make a few clips. Then I'm going to go to the bottom of my bag and grab the bottom center notches to the bottom center notch of my front panel and clip those together. Now you need to just go all the way around and clip this thing. Now what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take this flap and you're going to kind of fold it in on itself while you're trying to clip so that it's out of the way. You are going to have to make some clips into the gusset, but I'm going to wait and do that until I'm at that point. So I'm just going to go ahead and start clipping around. I got you to add the front panel to your gusset first so that you could move this gusset out of your way as you're trying to sew. I didn't want you to be like feeling around and this coming underneath your seams or anything like that. If you wanted to, if you're using regular cotton, you could just clip them together in the center and that way they stay out of your seams. And since I'm using cotton, might as well. So you could clip it in the center and that way it's out of your seams. Alright, we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and this is something that I normally don't do, but I'm going to go ahead and do the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance all the way around so it will stay in place. So let's go do that. Alright, so I have got my stitch length at a 4, and I'm going to start up here where it's a little bit easier. It is going to get thick down here on the corner, so you're just going to need to take your time. I'm going ahead and doing my 1/4 of an inch seam allowance because I find it's just so thick. You need to go ahead and get your seams established before you go trying to do binding or anything like that. Alright, so we had her sewn up. I went ahead and I put my binding on. That way we could save both of us some time. If you don't know how to do binding, there's plenty of videos that I've done that I've showed where if you do binding, it's pretty simple. You just take your binding, fold it over, and then clip it on. Alright, for your corners where you cannot see on this side, I went ahead and kind of miter cornered. So I pushed this side down and then pushed the material up underneath and then pushed it down so that this side will have kind of the miter looking corners. Some of them like to move while I'm doing stuff. Alright, so that's done. We've got her all clipped up. Let's go to the sewing machine, and with a 4 stitch length we'll sew like this at our sewing machine. Alright, so I have got my stitch length at a 4. I'm going to start up here. I'm going in just a little, like a smidgen pinching over a 1/4 of an inch. Alright, so this side is sewn on with our binding. However, I want to do a really quick seams check. This is something that I just decided to do with a lot of my bags, especially if I'm doing kind of thicker seams on these sides where maybe my sewing foot might have scooched over a little bit and some of my basting stitches might be showing on the outside. So I want to find out now before I make the whole bag, turn it inside out, and then have to turn it all back inside. You get the idea. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to turn it right side out, and I'm going to check along all of the seams just to make sure that I caught everything. And if I didn't, I'm going to go back and I'm going to redo it. So you definitely want to check along this side, and I caught everything. Along the bottom, along the sides. Well, that's a first. Okay. I would rather do a seams check now than turn this whole entire thing inside out and find out that I have to put it back inside. You know what I'm saying. You've done this before. Alright, so now I'm going to turn this back out. And the back panel, you guys, is so much easier because it doesn't have anything on it except for this. Alright, pay attention to make sure that your snaps are going to be towards the top of your bag, because you don't want to put your snaps upside down and then your pencil case will be upside down. So make sure that you do it right. Alright, so we're going to need a center notch in this. And we're going to need a center notch in the bottom if you haven't already done it. If you're ever doing any of my patterns, you might as well just assume that there's going to be center notches. Alright, so we're going to match up the top of our back panel to the top of our zipper gusset, the bottom notch to the bottom gusset. So let's do that. Clip all the way around. Alright, stitch length is back at a 4. We're going to again do a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Go ahead and get our seams established. And this side is going to be so much easier. You guys are going to be so happy with this side. Alright, so I don't know if you guys saw in the fast forward, but my snaps were kind of catching onto my machine. So just be careful as you're going around, kind of being mindful of that it might be wanting to catch onto the edge of your desk or something. So just be mindful of that. Alright, we're going to do one more binding, and then you're almost done. So I'm taking my binding, I'm folding it in half. I'm cutting at an upward angle so I get that bulk out of there, and then fold that tip down. Fold it over, and then start clipping all the way around. So I've got my stitch length at a 4, and then we're just going to sew a 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Again, watching out for those snaps, kind of trying to catch our desk. Alright, we did it. Alright. Double check if you want that the elastic is on this side and the snaps are on this side, so they're both facing the correct way before you turn it inside out. Let's open that zipper up, and then we're just going to turn everything right side out. Alright, she's all turned inside out. I didn't want you guys to see me struggle into the struggle bus anymore, so I just went ahead and clipped. Alright, now you can go ahead if you wanted to, and you can put your snaps in there. Just make sure everything's fitting really nice. I'm just going to put the snaps together like so. So your pen case is in there. If you wanted to, you could kind of tuck it behind your seams on the side. It does fit there. And so you can put your computer through here on this side, and then your pens will go on this side. Now, before we say we're done, I'm going to grab a couple of things. So I've got a couple of these pieces cut out and I keep them in my desk, and they're Peltex. They're just like the one-sided interfacing. And then I have some of these office clips. And what I like to do is I like to take and roll my seams out like this, and then take the Peltex and put it on my seam and put the clip on there. I'm going to put these on there for about, I don't know, 15-ish minutes. It's going to help your bag kind of train to keep that seam out, because right now what it wants to do, that seam wants to roll in, and we don't want that. We want the seam to be out. So kind of roll your seams out and put a clip there. And you can do that on the back and the front if you think that you need it. Ugh. So I'll leave that for about 15 minutes, and while I'm letting that do its thing, let's go make the strap. Alright, last step, strap. Okay, so I have got a 60-inch, 1.5-inch strip of webbing. I've got my 1.5-inch swivel clasp, and I've got my 1.5-inch strap adjuster. First thing that you're going to do, put it through one side like that, and then back down the other. You're going to give yourself about 1.5 inches-ish of tail, and I'm going to clip that in place so I can take it to the sewing machine and sew that. But first, we're going to take it with the flip side over all the way down, and we're going to take and put one of our swivel clasps on just like this, and then keeping everything straight, take this end through the side that we flipped over, put it through one side and back down the other, and then grab our other swivel clasp, put it through so that it looks just like that. So when you're looking down at your strap, it should look just like that. And then same thing, give yourself about 1 inch, 1.5 inches, or more, depending upon what you need. Give yourself that much space on the back. And then let's take this to the sewing machine and sew that up. Alright, so I am at my strap connector. I am going to sew those two that I clipped together. We're going to make a little box and an X. So I just kind of willy-nilly this. I know there's a better way of doing this so that you get your little box with the X. But I just kind of sew all over the place. But basically you want yourself an X in the center, because this is going to be probably something that you're going to carry your heavy computer in, so you don't want that strap busting or getting loose on you. That's why for laptops and bags like that, I would definitely use like 1.5 inch webbing. That's just my preference for when you're carrying something heavy, is using a thicker strap. So it should resemble that. Black on black again, sorry. One of these days. One of these days. You want your product to look good, but you also kind of want people that are watching the video to be able to see what in the world you're doing. Oh my goodness. So it's not like I could use red or something and be like, look! And my customers would be like, Faith, what have you done? Alright, your strap's all done. Let's cut the threads and get it on our bag. Alright, now that our strap is done, I have taken off my Peltex. My bag is nice and trained with the seams coming out. You can just add your strap to your bag and you're ready to go. Alright guys, so what did you think? I hope you guys liked this video. I hope you liked the pattern. Make sure that you go down into the description box and there is a link for where to get the pattern. I have a website. I know, it only took like 6 years. But I finally got a website up and running, and it's got all of my ready-made items / all of my patterns on there. And hopefully everything is ready to go for launch. We shall see. The pattern is going to be released February 1st. So make sure that you check out February 1st. Check out my page. I also, there's so much in this video. I'm glad I'm putting in the outro. So First off, pattern, February 1st. Second of all, there is a Faithwerks show and tell group, and I will leave it linked somewhere for you guys to go and share all of your likes. Kim at K&A's was like, you really need your own Facebook page so that people can go to it and they can show off their patterns and go online, and when they've made something it'll go on there and it'll really build the community. So I went and made a Facebook page. So if you're on my YouTube channel, you've made any of the stuff by K&A, you've made any of my patterns, make sure that you go on the Faithwerks Designs show off group. Lastly, did you see what I'm wearing today? You might not be able to tell, but it's a sewing machine. I have had so many ideas for t-shirts, and it's just something that I've been wanting to do. So I picked out all of the words that I kind of used for my sewing stuff and turn it into a sewing machine. I now have t-shirts. So there's a link down in the description down below. Do me a favor, go there, check them out. Tell me what you think in the comment section down below. Do you like them? Do you don't like them? What do I need to do differently? Let me know. Because I asked all of my customers, I was like, how do these look? Let me know, because I don't know. I know how I feel about them, but you might not feel the same. You know what I mean? So go down there, check them out for me, and let me know what you think. And if you wanted to support the channel, that's a great way that you can get your own sewing t-shirt / help our channel out, and that way it can help me to have the free time to be able to do all of this. So really appreciate your support. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, or if you want to subscribe and see some of the other videos I have coming out. I have another pattern coming, Bella, our dog. I have another pattern coming out soon. It's going to be a wallet this time, and it's going to be one of those things that you're probably going to need a Cricut for. Possibly, I mean, you could do it by hand, but a Cricut would be a whole lot easier. Anyway, it's coming soon. Make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss that. And if you have any questions, comments about the pattern, just leave them in the comment section down below. I do check those daily. Thanks again for joining us on Faithwerks Designs. Bye, guys.